My top suggested divine feminine friendly decks that every inner goddess needs, part one. So we're gonna hop right into this with the Goddess Oracle by Amy Sophia Marshkinsky. Hope I'm saying her name right. I actually have the pocket version, which is an unofficial version. It's from Temu, so it's a little smaller in size, probably a lot smaller than the actual version. It does not come with the guidebook, but the actual version, of course, does. So this deck is very vibrant in color. I love the diversity of each goddess. It is culturally, I feel, accurate, in my opinion. This deck is beginner friendly or for avid tarot users or oracle deck users as well. Each goddess has a keyword next to her name, which makes it a little easier to, discern what the message is about and how to read it. Oshun, it's so beautiful. Look at the colors, just so vibrant. Okay, I love the illustrations on this deck. So our next deck that we're going to tap into is the Legendary Ladies deck by Amy Shin. This one is a little lighter in imagery, kind of childlike. It gives me a storybook feel. So each goddess is depicted in this deck. It gives you a background, an origin of the goddess, okay? And also gives you a divinational meaning, of course. This deck is a little large in size, so if you have small hands like me, it might not be that easy to shuffle. It has a matte finish, but I love how big the cards are actually because it gives you more of a kind of a canvas of color, if you will. So very easy on the eyes. Even the goddesses that are depicted a little bit more in darker feminine aspects and attributes, it's not harsh at all. It's very soft, maybe even a child friendly deck or a teenage friendly deck if you're into that. So the next deck is the Goddess Tarot by Chris Wilder. This deck actually reminds me of the Lover's Path Tarot, which is one of my favorite tarot decks that I own. Um, but I do like the fact that each goddess incorporated is a major arcana. They do have male and female characters in this deck, so it's not completely a female deck. It does have male characters. So it is kind of traditional in that sense, but they do mix cultures as well. So the cultures do add that diversity that I do appreciate in tarot decks. This also is a very vibrant deck. It has beautiful bordery around it as well. So I would definitely suggest this deck for beginners and experiments tarot readers. Just look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes. So our next deck is the OG Goddess Guidance Oracle deck by Dorian Virtue. This is one of her most popular decks and one of the first decks that I probably own, probably the first goddess deck I actually own, and it was gifted to me by a subscriber years ago. But this deck, I love it because of the different goddesses that you see here. They'll have different cultures of goddesses, and this one is also, to me, ethnic wise, it is actually accurate. There is no whitewashing of any goddesses or anything like that. I do love the features and the colors and the backgrounds and the symbols that come with each goddess. So the next deck is the Goddess and Sirens Oracle deck, which is another OG deck of mine. I've had this deck for years. It's by Stacey DeMarco. And this one does have more of an kind of like an action oriented card. If you look at the goddesses, they have like these warrioresses type of vibes in here. They do have like a little sexy vibe too to them, but very powerful imagery in this deck, and I love it. Okay, so this could be like a deck that you use to encourage yourself, to empower yourself, maybe even do shout as well. So I would definitely suggest this deck. Now this one's not really that I feel like ethnic wise it's not really accurate. It is a little bit of whitewashing in here. That's the only con of this deck, but other than that, this is a pretty decent deck in the size. So Isis Oracle, another OG deck of mine, and I love this deck. I feel like it's a powerful deck for, spiritual compass guidance reads and shadow work readings and healing messages. It's very dope. I love the guidebook because it has incantations in it. It has a lot of good information in the guidebook, and the cards, the art on this deck is so beautiful. I don't like the fact that they don't depict the Egyptians with, their, like I said, cultural accuracy. I don't feel like this deck has that. It is a bit whitewashing, and I know. But let's get into the Kali Oracle. And this deck is also by Alana Fairchild, just like the Isis Oracle. And Kali is one of my favorite goddesses. The pro of this deck is the imagery is very powerful. The guidebook has a lot of juicy information. However, the only thing I do not like about this deck is the fact that the cards do not have like a keyword or title or meaning. I mean, it does have a title, but it's not something that you will be familiar with for some. There is a need to pull out your guidebook because not every card is going to be something that you're familiar with or understand what it is meaning or saying. Of course, use your intuition when reading the cards. So let's go ahead and move on. Another deck of mine that I really find to be beautiful, and I appreciate this deck, the Mary Magdalene, the Mystic of Magdalene Oracle deck, okay? An Oracle of Love. It's by Cheryl Rumbash Rose. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name. I love this deck because it is soft in energy but very powerful, and I feel like it's good for divine guidance as far as your purpose and your path and your journey and your healing. It's beautiful. It has like a similar size to the Kali and Isis Oracle, but it has more of a matte finish. It doesn't have that gloss finish to it, but this is a deck that I feel is easily cherishable, at least in my opinion. I do enjoy this deck. So the Oracles of Delphi, the Prophetess of Greece, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably not pronouncing the name right, but this is a lovely deck too. I just got it this year. I was drawn to it. I usually don't like decks that have actual people rather than illustrations. It has like, looks like photography, like someone took pictures of, their friends and family and put them on a deck. I usually don't like decks like that, but this one I was very drawn to, and I love how everything is placed. It's kind of, it has illustration vibes to it, but some of the cards, it has an abstract vibe to it, like a collage, if you will. So, honorable mention, I had to mention this deck, the Hip Hop Queens Oracle deck. No, it is not a goddess, but it is a divine feminine type of deck, and I've waited for this deck. When it first came out, I was like, I can't wait to have this deck. It was on pre-order, and when I finally got it, I was so pleased with it. It does have some famous hip-hop artists, R&B artists, and some you might not be familiar with. I wasn't familiar with everybody in this deck, but I appreciate the illustrations. It does have keywords. It does give you background on who the artist is and such. So I felt like this was an honorable mention because this deck is pretty dope. So you got to have it in your collection. If you are an R&B or hip hop lover, you got to have it. So last but not least is the Wild Goddess Oracle deck. And this deck is by Amy Zerner and Monte Ferber. Hopefully I'm saying their names right. Probably not. It's a big ass book. The deck is actually way smaller than the book and what it looks like, but the guidebook almost looks like, how you have those children books that you find at Barnes & Noble. It kind of looks like that, but it has a lot of information. I do like this deck. It has two sides to it. So if you're going to shuffle this deck, shuffle it facing upward. Don't shuffle it face down like you would a normal deck, because there's meanings on the back and there's the illustrations on the front. I do like the abstract art, kind of that collage feel to this deck as well. It does have kind of like those vintage types of artist look to it. Not sure what type of art that would be or style, but yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. This was my top suggested. Much love. Stay tuned for part